I will definitely not fly Allegiant, and likely I will go to Greenville-Spartanburg from now on.
Tensions are high between Allegiant Airlines and passengers flying into Asheville from Las Vegas. While the flight was descending into the airport, a last-minute diversion.
News 13's Samir Nafsi has more on why the pilot changed plans last minute and how it impacted those on board.
Passengers of Allegiant Flight 263 say the airline left them high and dry after a last-minute diversion. They were left without options for food or housing and just given a cot to sleep on states away.
Allegiant is a budget airline and they're trying to handle this situation on a budget.
Fallout between passengers of Allegiant Flight 263 and the airline.
I was on the troubled flight from Las Vegas to Asheville.
The flight scheduled for Thursday from Las Vegas to Asheville Regional Airport, anything but smooth.
We actually made it all the way to Asheville. We started the initial descent into Asheville, and then we're told that the Asheville airport had just closed its runway. And they immediately took us back up and had us rerouted not to anywhere close.
The flight was diverted 500 miles away to the Cincinnati, North Kentucky International Airport.
Everyone was really confused because there was not a lot of communication given. It was just us asking questions and then relaying it to each other. Allegiant wasn't telling us anything.
There, the airport closed. Passengers left with no options for food or hotel rooms.
They brought us military-style cots like in a refugee camp, did not give us any blankets, any pillows, anything like that. It was freezing.
And to worsen the situation,
at 4 in the morning, they turned on all of the brightest lights in the airport right where everybody was sleeping on cots, which seemed completely unconscionable because there was no 4 a.m. flight and there were no flights leaving out of the gates where they put us.
Meanwhile, back in Asheville, airport staff say they were prepared for the landing.
The airfield was open and operational last night, ready for the flight to come in.
In a statement to News 13, Allegiant blaming weather-related issues, writing, quote, "The flight crew attempted to land at AVL, however the crosswinds were too strong, so the flight crew was unable to complete the landing," end quote. Airline officials went on to acknowledge the disruption as an inconvenience and offered up $250 to passengers.
I put all of the blame on Allegiant Airlines.
I really feel that Asheville Airport has a responsibility to take this up with Allegiant. If they're going to keep their business here, I feel like they should work on behalf of the customers that fly out of this airport.
In the future, I would never fly Allegiant Airlines. I would tell all my friends and family, please do not fly Allegiant Airlines.
And Flight 263 was able to depart from Cincinnati around 11 a.m. Friday morning. Now, the airline has not answered my questions as to why passengers were given a different reason for that last-minute diversion.
And now back to the city of Asheville's investment in more housing opportunities for the homeless.
News 13's Taylor Thompson has more on plans to break ground on the long-awaited units.
Stability, safety, and a place to heal. This is why advocates for the homeless say permanent housing is a vital need. ABCCM Executive Director Scott Rogers is grateful to see efforts from the city in contributing to more permanent housing.
This is certainly a part of the right steps. We really see this as a smorgasbord of great choices for homeless.
Choices include emergency shelter, transitional shelter, and permanent supportive housing, all playing an important role in the efforts of combating homelessness.
Permanent supportive housing helps us all move folks more quickly, whether it's straight from the streets to an apartment or out of emergency shelter or transitional housing. All of those are really positive ways in which we find solutions in the complex puzzle of the homeless.
With ABCCM currently offering all 3 types of shelter, Rogers says at this point there's nobody who needs shelter that can't get it.
The Ramada is an addition to the permanent supportive housing unit.
Rogers says they'll be wanting to refer people to the Ramada that are ready for permanent housing once it's up and running. There are 2 ways for people to be referred: being at an emergency shelter or coming straight off the street.
Trying to make it possible for kind of both of those solutions. People coming straight off the streets, maybe the chronically homeless, others who are disabled, to be able to get in straight. And then folks who are coming into our emergency shelters and can we gets used straight in.
Permanent housing is what keeps many on the right path.
Permanent supportive housing is really important because so many of our guys have left and become isolated again, and when they become isolated again, they tend to relapse into bad behaviors or fall off the wagon.
From Rogers' experience, many have loved the structure of permanent housing and stay in it for the rest of their life. Tuesday morning, the city of Asheville will break ground right here at the Ramada Inn to begin the process of constructing over 100 housing units.
Flooding from Tropical Storm Fred hit Canton hard last year. High water swamped the field at one of the town's proud landmarks, the Pisgah Memorial Stadium.
And now the damaged field is repaired. News 13's Rex Hodge explains the federal rules that had to be met and, of course, the excitement for sports to return.
A new field is finally down here at Pisgah Memorial Stadium after flood damage from last year. The school superintendent says it's taken a lot of time because the district has had to follow very stringent FEMA rules.
It was just exhausting, the process that FEMA requires.
Haywood County Superintendent Trevor Putnam says refurbishing the football field is 90% finished after Tropical Storm Fred remnants turned it into a muddy mess.
They're putting up the exterior fencing. They're putting the fill in the turf.
Reestablishing the storied stadium in a floodplain requires extra steps from FEMA.
Much of our electrical infrastructure will be above the floodplain. They might ask of us to flood tight or flood proof doors and windows in any structure in its path.
Some of the work delay, Putnam says, is due to supply chain and labor shortage issues. Repairs to the field, adjacent ball fields, and to Central Haywood High coming in, Putnam says, at a price tag of around $6 million.
To date, between insurance and FEMA, this should not impact our local expenses and budgets.
Putnam and school leaders making the decision to resurrect the field where it is, rather than relocate it.
Our board and myself opted for the quickest way to recovery so that we could get our kids back on the field.
My soccer team, my whole team's excited.
Kennedy Barker's soccer career at Pisgah more than once interrupted.
It's been hard to watch, COVID, my freshman year getting taken away from me, and then watching the flood come.
Her team will literally kick things off on the new field come late February, early March.
I just look at it, and to be able to see actually getting there and being finished now is it's crazy, and it's just amazing.
A solid goal for her senior year, and she says for the whole community. The new field is down, an uplifting moment for a memorial stadium, Putnam says, will continue honoring those who served.
Putnam hopes this field lasts a good long time, but it remains part of the discussion about perhaps in the future sometime having to move this field to higher ground.